and welcome to my turntable buyer's guide, which is a little bit different from the norm. This is not your usual best audiophile turntable or best turntable under £500. The clue is in the title, which you can see below, which says the best turntable for you. So what am I getting at? Well, let me explain what the best turntable is for me, and that might give you a sense of where this guide is coming from. The reason I spend so much on a turntable, the reason I might even want to do such a thing, is to improve sound quality, to get more music from the grooves of my vinyl. In my case, I want to make music real, or as real as possible. So I want to stand nearer to Keith Moon's drum kit than any other member of The Who. I want to hear the grunts and gasps from an aging Neil Young as he thrashes his guitar. And I also want to dodge the flying spittle from the mouth of the Falls Mark E. Smith. Well, can you really blame me? It's a quest for realism, and that's where I stand. But there's more to life than being an audiophile. There's more to hi-fi. There's more to vinyl. In short, music is the point. That's why I do what I do. There's more to music than even realism. Realism, some hi-fi fans will be surprised to learn, is not everything, and nor should it be. Music is more than that, much more. Now, before I was ever a full-time hi-fi journalist, I was a full-time music journalist. I edited 2 national UK music magazines, and actually, technically, I still am a music journalist of sorts, because I still have a column in a national UK music magazine. And the one thing that always surprised me, even then when I was editing these music magazines and doing some freelance for other music magazines, was, and I had a hi-fi thing even then, was how little hi-fi actually counted amongst the music fans, the readers of the magazines I wrote for. The point for all of them was the music, whether that be vinyl or CD or even 78s. These discs were 99.9% of the reason they were in the hobby. Hi-fi? Oh, much too complex, too confusing, they would tell me. They'd say things like, I'd rather spend the money on records. And I have no problem with that point of view. I actually love that point of view because music really is the point. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll keep on saying it. Music is the point. Now, me, I'm a poor unfortunate. I'm stricken, I'm almost disabled with the need to improve my hi-fi to such a point that I get what I hear is a realistic sound from my hi-fi system. That is critical. I can't listen to vinyl or CD until I've done as much as I can to wring the last drop of realism from the music I'm listening to. I admit it. I have an issue. I have a problem. And it's my problem. And I'm quite happy with that problem. It's one I'm very content with. I'm at peace with my issues. Not everyone is as bonkers as me though, and that's fine. Music is all about a vibe, a rhythm. It's about how it makes you feel. It's about emotion. Plugging you into emotion is music's job. Now, to get to that point, to get to that place where you actually experience that emotion, that's what a turntable is for. That's what this tool, and a turntable is nothing but a hi-fi tool, that's what the turntable is meant to do, to plug you into emotion. As I say, a turntable is but a tool to achieve that task. But it's an important tool. So important, I would say, that the turntable itself becomes part of the method of generating that emotion. And after a while, the turntable becomes other. It becomes something more than just being a tool. It becomes part of that emotional experience. Because of that, and this is the core, the heart of this particular buyer's guide, how music is produced and from what turntable can be just as important as the music itself. What I'm trying desperately to say here is that playing music is a sort of ritual. Get that ritual right and magic will emerge. And like any good ritual, to get to that magic, you need symbols. And for a music fan, a music listener, a turntable is the most powerful symbol that's ever been invented. Hence the turntable that the vinyl sits upon can be just as evocative as the music it's playing. Some of you will trigger floods of nostalgia from a vintage radiogram, for example. The sort that included a built-in turntable. Maybe it takes you back to a cherished grandmother, to childhood, when you first heard recorded music live, as it were. Maybe it's a pair of DJ decks heard, seen and possibly used at a club gig. Maybe those self-same decks were the backing for your own rapping MC or even breakdance moves. Maybe it's a classic 78 player because that was the way you first heard the classic trumpet strains of Louis Armstrong. Back in my music journalist days, a few people understood that I had a big interest in hi-fi. So one or two people would ask advice about different aspects of turntables and hi-fi and the like. And there was one particular chap, pretty well-known guy, used to work for the music paper NME. He was big into reggae, still is. It's his entire world. He wanted to know about valves. He found an original reggae DJ mobile rig. It was authentic, but a bit beaten up and needed repair. This was an old wooden cabinet with a bass bin so large entire civilizations could be lost inside it. The amplifier inside was powered by 13 million valves, and sitting on top was a pretty ragged turntable. Not audiophile, not in a million years. But for this guy, this rig was heaven indeed. It was sheer joy for my friend. It was his love affair, and he had a gooey look in his eyes whenever he talked about it. Now, all of these examples I've just given you have got nothing to do with realism, which is my thing. They have everything to do with nostalgia. They have everything to do with a particular vibe. They have everything to do with emotion. And this is where this guide comes in, and this is where you come in. This list will offer advice on a selection of those turntable variants, but not all. This list will get the ball rolling with 8 likely contenders. I will try to vary the price as much as possible and also list those turntables that are as accessible as possible. Nothing too obscure or rare, just so you can go out and hopefully buy one for yourself. Although you're welcome to give me very obscure and extremely rare. No worries there. I'd be happy to hear about those. So please, I would like you to fill in the gaps, and don't be restricted either. I've mentioned a few already, but if you want to talk about your favourite DJ deck, your favourite reggae sound system or 78 player, then by all means, go for it. If you have an anecdote or memory, it doesn't have to be long, a line, 2 lines perhaps, more, then all the better. Now a few quick notes about my top 8 turntables and why I've selected them. Firstly, I've tried to select different types of turntables. If I've neglected to mention your favourite turntable, it's not because I think badly of them, it's just that I'm attempting to cover all bases for all people under different circumstances. There's no point in repeating the same types of turntables 10 times. That really helps no one, not in this guide. I'm looking at different types of users here. That also means looking at new and second-hand designs. I want to vary the field here and show the beginner that variety exists in the budget turntable market. Secondly, I appreciate that different people have different lifestyles and differing amounts of cash in their pockets. Hence, I'm looking at varying budgets. In this case, anything from what, £150 to £11,000. There's a bit of variation for you. More than that, this buyer's guide is partly aimed at those who don't use vinyl, never have or haven't played a vinyl disc in a while, and possibly might wish to return to the fold. So, part of the reason for this feature is to get as many people onto the vinyl wagon as possible, however and whatever way I can. As some of you will be scratching your head, possibly just a little bit, because for those people who've seen my earlier buyer's guides, 9 items seems to be my magic number. So why haven't I gone for 9 in this one? Well, I have. And the first turntable I want to talk about is a warning. And it's not really a turntable, it's a whole swathe of turntables that all fit under one heading, one umbrella. And I want to address it now as a sort of warning to raw beginners. If you are a beginner and you're a reader of glossy colour supplements, or have been lucky to have had the freedom to breeze through the high street of late, then you will be familiar with a range of turntables that sit under a whole host of brand names such as Crossley, Steepletone, Ion, GPO, and a million other nondescript monikers. These companies tend to spend more money on marketing than they actually do investing in product quality. It's a sort of Bose way of doing business if you're familiar with that audio brand. These cheap and cheerful turntables actually look rather appealing, and some seem to feature innovative designs. Others have a pretty good looking vintage casing. All of them are available for low prices. Often they come with internal speakers and internal amplifiers, plus the turntable, and the package looks very appealing for the price. So I'll give you a few examples, shall I? The Voxen Vintage Turntable for the princely sum of £65. The 1x1 turntable 3-speed, no less, is £49 last time I looked. The Ion Audio Max LP is somewhere around £79. The A-Moon 3-speed is £65, and the classic Crossley Cruiser is around £80. All of these are available on eBay and Amazon, and they're stuck in the window of HMV stores, and you'll find them knocking around the corners of general stores on the high street and in your local town and village. They're everywhere. And they're a great bargain, yeah? Well, no. No, not at all, actually. These poorly built, poorly designed, poorly implemented disasters waiting to happen are put together in such a way as to look great, then they reel you in, then they take your money, and they let you struggle with the aftermath. Not only do they offer poor performance, they, more importantly, threaten to damage your precious vinyl, partly because of how they're put together more than anything else. Shoddily is the word I would use. Do me a favour, don't go there. Now, they might look vintage, but they're not by any means, and that might lead to some poor buyer spending out on one because they believe they're purchasing a vintage turntable, and to me, that's misleading. What's worse, before I recorded this video, I did a quick Google of vintage turntables and used the same term on an Amazon website, and a host of these machines popped up in the sponsored section with complete pictures on Google and filled the results pages in Amazon. I counted 100 before I gave up in exhaustion, so-called vintage turntables for sale in Amazon, one page of listing at a time, and not one of those were genuinely vintage or even approached the notion of the term vintage. So that is my first turntable in this guide. A turntable you should not buy. Let me give you some life advice. Eat your greens, get enough sleep, don't talk to strangers, and don't buy a Crossley turntable, and you can rope in the other rubbish into that recommendation. Now, the only problem I have with saying don't buy a Crossley, and it does bother me a bit, is that if you're a low income earner and you spend most of your time working just to pay the rent and put food on the table, you have children to clothe and so on, and you have no spare cash to spend on frivolities like expensive turntables and hi-fi, and the only way you buy vinyl is pound a go from a car boot or thrift store sale, then who am I to tell you not to buy a Crossley? And I actually have talked about this before online because it bothers me, because the last thing I want to do is to stop people listening to music. So it does concern me. Now, since that time, because I did talk about people buying a Crossley if they're on very low income, I've had a rethink since then, and I think it's actually better to go second hand. And I think it's possible to spend the same amount of cash you might buy on a new Crossley or GPO or Ion on something respectable in terms of sound from the likes of eBay. Now again, if you're in that low income situation, by all means talk to me and maybe I can throw some recommendations in your direction. So let's get to the rest of the turntables, the other 8 that I do recommend, and all of the prices I've stated in this guide are correct as I'm making this video. My first choice is, if you're looking for a dirt cheap turntable that actually sounds good, try a pro-ject primary. One of the cheapest audiophile quality turntables currently on the market at the moment. It might offer a simple design and its facilities might look a little bare, but the sound it produces is top notch for the price. Helped by the useful free Audiophile cartridge, of course, and you can choose from a range of colours too. This is for vinyl fans who are often on the move, people who want a sense of mobility from their turntable. This one is priced around £220 from eBay. They don't make them anymore, you can only buy them second-hand. It's from Audio Technica and it's called the Sound Burger. This, my friends, is the best luggable record player ever. Now sadly deleted, but available still via second-hand outlets. There are new copycat examples around from other competitors, but please avoid them. This turntable arrives with a clamshell chassis. The lid opens up, you put the vinyl on the mini platter, you push a rubber bung over it for stability, you close the clamshell top, and away you go. It arrives with a decent quality stylus as well. Solid and reliable, it sounds wonderful. Now, for those who really haven't gone past the old radiogram that their grandparents used to have when they were a child, and you want a sort of modern all-in-one equivalent of that radiogram, I would look at a Bang & Olufsen Biogram. Now, you can still pick these up on eBay, anywhere from £500 to £1,500, depending on condition, if all the accessories are included, if it's been serviced, the usual kind of thing. There is that range in price. This design has plenty of second-hand value for those who want an all-in-one system. That should also include a radio and a cassette deck, plus lots of style, style, style. If you want a great sounding system that you can show off at parties, then this is the one to go for. I say one, but there are many variants of the Biocenter. Don't forget, be cautious and wary, but do look. Bang & Olufsen's sound output is vastly underrated. Next, the lowest cost true audiophile turntable around, arguably, is the Riga Planner 1 at £249 in the UK. Riga is one of the turntable manufacturing legends of the hi-fi world. It's been around forever and is highly respected, while its turntables are mostly excellent, with 1 or 2 exceptions. This is the outfit's entry point. Well made and supplying great sound quality. It's a good buy for those looking at sound as the ultimate priority. But it's not for any user who wants their turntable awash with features and toys, however. The next turntable is aimed at those who want DJ cool, or who have great memories of clubbing the night away, or the weekend away, or even the entire week away. Who knows? For those who enjoyed spinning on their heads, doing a bit of breakdancing, or enjoyed a bit of the old hip-hop rapping malarkey, all of those people, the Technics SL1200 is a complete legend. And again, depending on mods and condition and servicing, it'll cost you around £500 upwards. And I'm talking about the classic original SL1200 here, not the more recently released and far more expensive models. There are not many turntables out there that are both iconic and also helped to launch an entire culture of music. DJ culture, ye olde rap, hip-hop, all of these and more were formed around the notion of this reappropriated living room design from Technics. A direct drive design, built like a tank and eminently modifiable. It screams cool, can be recognized 50 feet away, is easy to use, is a great music creative tool, and has that classic direct drive sound. Now, the first record player I ever had as a kid, 8-9 years old or so, was a sort of dancette design, which comes in an all-in-one chassis with a hinged lid, amplifier and speaker included within, and underneath the lid an automatic record player. They are classic 50s, 60s designs. And if you're after a blast from the past, If nostalgia is the thing that gets you, if you want to kick into that real vintage sound, then I would recommend a Dansette type record player, but not any old Dansette type record player. If you can, grab yourself a Hacker. For some people, music and vinyl means the 50s, 60s and 70s, and the sound of a record player means just one thing, a Dansette or something similar. These little beauties are in themselves vintage collectibles and feature everything you need within one rather heavy chassis. The sound is sepia tinged and very warm, and is absolutely in no way audiophile. But these Dansettes evoke a time and a place. If you can, buy one that's been fully serviced and not one that's bought from a car boot or yard sale, unless you have the techie skills to do it yourself, because lots of things can go horribly wrong with these vintage items. While Hacker is a top quality brand to head for, any brand toting a Garrard turntable is preferable to those featuring a BSR turntable or similar. So go for Garrard, try your best to ignore the BSR, but obviously if that's all that's available, grab a BSR. But the Garrard turntable will offer a better build and sound quality. Now for some music fans, art is the most important thing in terms of music. Creativity. And when I say creativity, creativity in terms of the music, but also creativity in the turntable itself, the turntable that music is being played upon. For some people, the look of the turntable is everything, and my next choice reflects that opinion. The Braun PC3 SV is an epitome of history and art and design all rolled into one, and you can still pick them up off eBay right now for somewhere around £450 or so. So I've included this model for those who look upon the basic turntable and yawn. For those who see design as the most important aspect of the contents of their home, and for those who see art as the central focus. This turntable, built around 1959, is just one example, and there are other turntables out there, of a series of classic Braun technologies that was created by renowned designer Dieter Rams. Rams became a protege of the Ulm School of Design, the successor to Bauhaus. And you can see a collection of his works at, well, I'll put a link in the comments and you can click on it and have a look yourself. Now, my final turntable choice is a bit of a left field choice. It's a bit of a ringer. It's a bit strange. It costs £11,000 and it's from a Japanese company called ELP. It's eccentric and it doesn't use a stylus, it uses a laser. This is a laser turntable, and I included for those who are vinyl extremists or are archivists or just happen to run their own museum. People in that side. These are people who would look at a basic turntable and be rather suspicious because they have particular needs and particular requirements. And if you are one of those people with particular requirements, the ELP laser turntable might just be the one for you. Now, I wanted to include this one because firstly, some of you might not have heard about it, and secondly, it shows what you can do with a turntable if you put your mind to it, and also because it might help one or two of you who have the cash to plug into Lost Emotions, especially if your discs are seemingly unplayable. In operation, it works like a CD player because the unit pushes out a tray exactly like a CD player's tray. You put your vinyl disc onto the tray, which takes the vinyl disc back into the chassis, and then it's played inside the chassis. Not by a stylus, as I say, but by a laser. This means that vinyl wear is next to zero because there's no stylus bumping and banging down the groove. The laser is also capable of choosing which bit of the groove it wants to play. This is ideal if you have a damaged vinyl disc or a precious fragile disc of some sort, even including 78s. This means that you can search for a part of the groove to play that might have suffered less or no damage at all to produce a clear and pristine sound. Now, I actually had one of these in for review. It must have been 15 years ago? 20? A long time ago. I had a UK distributor. He came over to my home. He brought one of these things, and it was odd. It was quirky because the records themselves had to be completely clean. If there was any dust at all on the records, the laser would trip up and fall over. So you had to be particularly meticulous in how you cleaned your vinyl before you put your vinyl into the machine. Now, that might have improved because I believe there's been improvements and new iterations. So maybe that issue doesn't exist anymore. Also, it wasn't the best sounding turntable in the world. It was very good, just not the best. For example, I had a Michel gyro deck in my possession at that time. And in sonic terms, the gyro deck walked all over the laser turntable. Now, the gyro deck is about, I don't know, £2,000 or so, give or take, and the ELP laser is £11,000. So you can weigh that up. However, the ELP is a specialist tool. It's not a general hi-fi turntable. So this particular tool will be for a particular customer. And if you are one of those particular customers, I could say it might be the one for you. So there you are. That's my 8 recommended and 1 not so recommended list of turntables, and hopefully one of those appeals to you. But if I've missed any variants, different types, different designs, turntables that go off into weird directions, I want to hear about it. I want to hear your favourite turntable type. I would love to know what turntables plug into your emotions and what turntables excite you just as much as the music those turntables play. But until then, I'm done. So thank you very much for sticking to the end of this particular video. I would love your company in the next one. That'll be next week. Please join me then. Until then, bye bye for now.